Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Krishna Sarvanamuthu, and I'm extremely pleased to be your moderator tonight for our event. We're going to be looking at some pretty important issues around occupation, self-determination, and solidarity. I just want to start off by recognizing that we are here on occupied territory of the Mississauga New Credit First Nations. Of course, in any conversation about self-determination and occupation, it's important that we recognize both our own roles and the legacy of this colonial state here in Canada. I'm also going to suggest that, I mean, we don't really have to talk about this, but I want to make it a point that there will be no tolerance whatsoever for any type of racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, homophobia, or sexism. The reason we're here today is because we know that our oppressors have worked together, whether it's the Turkish military, the Israeli military, or the Sri Lankan military. We know that in one way or another, in the past, they have cooperated with one another and they've shared common tactics. So it only makes sense then in that light that we continue working together, we continue sharing information, and we continue building solidarity with one another. Of course, as activists involved with national liberation struggles, we have to always keep in mind that each of us can do something to bring some portion of suffering, some portion of misery in this world to an end. And that's why I'm extremely honored to be here in this event, and I'm honored to be introducing each of these activists. The way it's going to work is that each of the organizations will have a speaker or a set of speakers that will speak for about 20 minutes each. And at the end of that, we're going to have a 30-minute question and answer period. So if you have any comments or suggestions or questions, just please wait until that Q&A. Is that something that's agreeable to everybody? Awesome. So we're going to start. It gives me great pleasure to first introduce my good friend Hamam. He's a Toronto-based activist who's inspired by the courageous resistance of his family in Gaza. He's also a founding member of SIA, and he's also a member of the Coalition Against Israeli Apartheid. With him is Murat Atari. She's a second-year student here at York University. She's also a member of SIA, and her origins are both half Palestinian and half Syrian. So let's please give them a big round of applause and make them feel welcome.
So I guess I'll start off. So I'm a Palestinian. I was born in the Gaza Strip, and I guess the idea, first of all, is to express solidarity with the Kurdish people and with the Tamil people. We have a long history of solidarity. That I know at times there have been attempts by Israel and by some imperialist governments here to kind of cloud that history of solidarity, kind of cover it. Also, Israel has tried to, for example, take advantage of the situation of the Kurds and to try to ally with the Kurds, but Kurds and Palestinians who are committed to human rights and for everybody in the world have always expressed and understood the solidarity between our peoples, despite the attempts of Israel and other countries to erase that history of solidarity between these two oppressed peoples. And the same with the Tamil people. There's a ongoing genocide going on in Sri Lanka against the Tamil people and the denial of Tamil Eelam. We stand in solidarity with the Tamil people's struggle and their fight against the chauvinist Sri Lankan state. So having expressed that, I'm just going to go over the situation as it is in Palestine. I gave a talk just last week, actually, about the history of what's happening in Palestine. And in that talk, I talked about Zionism, the idea of Zionism, that Jews can only be safe in a Jewish state, and specifically that Palestine was chosen for that Jewish state to become established. But Palestine, as I said in my earlier talk, was already inhabited by Palestinians. And so our people were expelled from their homes in order to establish a Jewish majority state. and that expulsion we commemorate every year as Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe, the Palestinian catastrophe, which is an event, a tragic event that Israel denies to this day. And but I want to focus more right now on the military occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem. So in my talk last week, I focused a lot on the Nakba and what happened in 1948. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about 1967, the war that took place there. So there was a war between Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Israel. Israel won that war and took over the rest of Palestine in that war. It occupied the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, which is 22% of original Palestine. And the reason it didn't give Palestinians citizenship in those areas and give them civil rights was because there were a lot of Palestinians in that area, and if they gave them citizenship, it would threaten the Jewish majority that had the power of the vote. And Israel, as I said in my previous talk, would do anything and everything to maintain its Jewish majority status, even if it means occupying and murdering and imprisoning an entire population of people, as we see it do on a daily basis. Since 1967, Israel has imposed a military order in the West Bank and Gaza. Palestinians there have lived under brutal military rule. So if I break the law, I go to an Israeli military court, whereas an Israeli settler goes to an Israeli civilian court if they break the law. And Israeli settlers are actually illegally settling on the occupied territories. So when Israel occupied the West Bank and Gaza, it expanded into those territories in contravention to international law. Article 49 of the Geneva Conventions, which Israel signed, says that the occupying power may not transfer parts of its own population into the territory it occupies. The occupation itself is illegal. The UN law says that it is inadmissible to acquire territory by war or by force. So UN Resolution 242 alludes to that, the inadmissibility of the acquisition of territory by force. And so the occupation is illegal. The world recognizes the occupation to be illegal. And since then, the world has demanded that Israel withdraw from the occupied territories. Right now, there is, as you know, probably know, there is an attempted and kind of failed peace process that's been going on, where Palestine was supposed to be declared as a state over the occupied territories. That hasn't come to fruition because Israel continues to build settlements in the occupied territories. In the West Bank right now, there are 400,000 settlers living illegally over confiscated land. And the way that land is confiscated is tragic. On a regular basis, you have Israeli soldiers that enter your home at like any hour of the night, telling you and your family you gotta evacuate your house. You have 15 minutes to grab your belongings and get out, because your home is now state land, and your home is demolished, and to make room for an illegal Israeli settlement, where that settlement enjoys all the services that Israel can provide for it: swimming pools, sprinklers, schools, beautiful homes, luxurious lifestyle homes, while just very close by, there's a Palestinian ghetto and a refugee camp where Palestinians who have been expelled either from the area where the settlement is or from back in 1948 from Israel proper are still languishing in these refugee camps, waiting for their right to return and reclaim their stolen property. And basically, yeah, it is an issue of land confiscation at the heart of it, and land expropriation by the Israeli state, and an issue of rights. The right of return for refugees is a really important one for Palestinians. So living under military law also means that the Israeli military is protecting these settlements, and that's why they're all over. You can find them all over the West Bank, especially in Area C of the West Bank, where Israel has full jurisdiction, and that makes up 60% of the West Bank. Area A, the Palestinian Authority at the moment has jurisdiction, but that can be taken away at Israel at any moment.